I don't think it's necessary, but maybe it is. Maybe it is necessary for you mentally. I don't know. Give us a call on how you feel about these numbers. 0345 6060 973. And listen, if you've got a 5 to 11-year-old, would you have your child jabbed, a low-dose COVID vaccine? So from this morning, jabs can be booked online. In fact, from 7 o'clock this morning. So the lines have been open for 2 hours and 8 minutes. Parents and carers of 5 to 11-year-olds in England can book a low-dose COVID vaccine for their children. Children are not even affected, are they, by this? I mean, they don't... I mean, how many children have died of that age or even been seriously ill? I don't know. But would you give your child a COVID vaccine? I know a lot of people that would not. Would you? Professor Sally Jane Cutler is with me, Professor of Medical Microbiology at the University of East London. Professor Sally Jane Cutler, good morning.
Good morning.
I don't know whether you've got a 5 to 11-year-old, but would you give them a COVID vaccine?
No, I probably wouldn't. My children are a little bit older than that, so basically it's not my problem. But my recommendation would be that as the vaccination is not going to stop them getting infected, then it's not going to protect them from that count. The vaccination does seem to protect from serious consequences, but we know that the children generally are not getting serious consequences. And so when you look at the risk and the benefit, I think really looking at all that evidence, I would probably recommend that those vaccine doses are used where they're going to have a greater impact, such as the developing countries where you're still looking at population vaccination levels at less than 5% in some countries. And there are many people that haven't had an opportunity to receive the vaccine. And yet we're recommending using it in a population that's not going to get a benefit. I think also you've got to think very much about all the vaccinations that you give to children anyway, and those are probably going to have a greater impact on keeping our children safe and well. Things like MMR, meningitis, the meningococcal vaccines, things like that. And those, I think, really we've got to make sure that we have full engagement with our children having those vaccinations.
That's very interesting. Thank you for your honest answer on that, because you're not the first. I remember, I can't remember who I was interviewing, but I remember somebody very senior in the medical world saying, well, no, I wouldn't. When this was first mooted some months ago, we are asking the parents of 5 to 11-year-olds to, in effect, have their child take a vaccine in order to what? I mean, what is...
Well, exactly. What is the benefit? Especially when we know that the protection wanes after a relatively short period of time anyway. And so you're looking at the durability, and you're looking at something that's not going to stop them getting infected. It's just going to protect from serious consequences and hospitalisation, which doesn't happen in that age group anyway.
Yeah. I've got a couple of texts in here, actually. It says, Andrew, you obviously missed the children in wheelchairs yesterday outside Downing Street, children suffering from long COVID. They might have been yours in a different time. How prevalent is long COVID?
Well, long COVID is something we don't entirely understand as yet. There's a lot of research that's going on that. And there is a small percentage of those people that become infected that do actually suffer from that. And we don't actually know at this point in time sort of how well the vaccine protects against long COVID. That information is still very much being actively researched, and we don't know conclusively what the degree of the vaccination protection would be against consequences such as that. We know it stops the serious hospitalisation, but long COVID cases are not going to get hospitalised. A lot of the time it's people that may have had actually quite a mild infection with the virus, but they just have a very, very slow, protracted recovery that lasts months and months. But it's a minority. It's a very small proportion. And you also mentioned very extremely vulnerable subpopulations of children. And those individuals would be the exception. Obviously, if you've got comorbidities, you've got something else seriously wrong in that child that makes them extremely vulnerable, then obviously those groups you would actually vaccinate.
Should we have scrapped free tests, which happened yesterday?
No. I'm appalled at the